Hello everyone, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one I have wanted to film for so long. Today we are going to be filming a swapping my screen time with reading time reading vlog. I've always wanted to film this video because I really love watching them. I think it's so interesting that we all have cell phones, but we can spend such wildly different amounts of time on them doing different things. I will say starting off, I think I have pretty good screen time in my opinion. I have a million timers for all of my problematic apps, and I also don't have TikTok, and I basically kind of have given up on Twitter and Blue Sky to some extent. I also for a while had given up on Instagram, although ironically now I am trying to get back into using Instagram more, which probably isn't the best considering the goal of this video. However, I feel like my main issue with scrolling has always been with YouTube. I feel like I look through YouTube with the energy of someone who's like flipping through the TV channels and seeing nothing on. It's definitely the biggest time waster and biggest culprit in terms of my screen time. Anyway, overall I thought this week would be a good time for me to fill my time with reading over defaulting to my phone or iPad. I think starting off we're going to go through and look at my screen time for the last week and use that as my kind of goal setting for how much time I'm going to be spending reading instead of looking at my phone. I decided I'm going to base this on the screen time that I had from the first week in July, since I think that was probably best representative of my average screen time. Other weeks I've just had some other things come up that have definitely impacted in different ways, like events and stuff that I'm doing where I'm not looking at my phone for most of the day. So I think this week is a pretty good representative of that. Starting off on Saturday, my screen time was 2 hours and 4 minutes. On the previous Sunday, it was 2 hours and 22 minutes. On Monday, it was 2 hours and 3 minutes. On Tuesday, it was 2 hours and 3 minutes. On Wednesday, it was only 1 hour and 23 minutes. On Thursday, it was 1 hour and 50 minutes. And on Friday, I had 2 hours and 40 minutes. So this is going to be roughly my goal for the next 7 days as I go through to try and hit as close to this goal for my weekly reading. I think we're going to go ahead and start off with my Saturday goal of reading 2 hours and 4 minutes. And in setting up this video, I was thinking about what kind of books I would want to add to my TBR. I feel like my mindset is I'm trying to find things that would replace what I normally go looking for on social media or on YouTube. And in terms of like what I go looking for in a video when I'm scrolling on YouTube, I love a good commentary video. I also love a reset or productive vlog. So I feel like if reading is going to become something that I do to replace those hours, it has to kind of serve the same purpose. So starting off, I decided to select a book that I think will really fit that niche. And the book I'm going to listen to is Extremely Online by Taylor Lorenz. Very fitting considering the topic of this video is to not be so online. But this is a nonfiction book that talks about fame and influencer culture. Taylor Lorenz was an online journalist who has actually since pivoted to have more of a YouTube commentary career. I've only seen her in other people's videos. I don't watch her channel regularly, but I've heard really good things about this book. So when I saw it was available through my Libby app, I decided to go ahead and check it out. I have it downloaded now, so it is going to be the focus for the first couple days, I suppose, of this reading vlog. And depending on how my progress goes in reading this, I'll probably move on to some other books to fill my time for the other hours that I have to fill for the rest of this challenge. In addition to Extremely Online for my TBR, I'm really going to focus on also finishing all the other books I have kind of lingering around. I'm in the middle of 2 other books right now. One of them I think I am going to finish probably later today, but I think also another big strategy in getting through this challenge is actually to just kind of let myself pick up as many books as I want based on my current mood. Because I often look at my phone to just find interesting things to pass the time, I need to have a wide variety of books available to me to kind of suit any possible mood I'm in. So I feel like allowing myself to just kind of mood read with not a hard deadline of when I have to have them done, or just to kind of let them float in and out, even in a state of soft DNFing some of them, is probably a better strategy to get me to actually want to read for the amount of time I have to for this video. So yeah, that's my plan going into this vlog. And with that long intro out of the way, let's get right on into the video. Today's video is dedicated to Will, who asked our group chat, does anyone have any good cleaning or reorganizing videos? And I said, I'll do it myself. We are going to be cleaning a bunch of different areas of my apartment today. We were babysitting my best friend's cats for 2 weeks, and they just recently left. So I feel like now is the perfect time to do a deep clean. I want to do kind of basic stuff I do for any reset. I want to vacuum, I have to mop, I have some laundry that I have to get done. I just kind of part of my routine tasks. but I also really want to do some reorganizing and decluttering of some areas that I couldn't do while they were here because I didn't want to like move a bunch of stuff around and then risk them getting into areas where they're not supposed to be. So we're in my living room right now because this is going to be one of the main areas that I want to focus on. And specifically, I want to reorganize everything that's behind my TV on my TV stand. From the front, it looks pretty normal, but behind it, there's a box that's full of basically everything that we like need to eventually deal with, but haven't dealt with yet. And there's stuff in there that's been there for literally like 6 months. So I really want to go through and organize everything that's in there. I also in general just have to clean this area because we're getting a new TV. Actually, it just came in the mail yesterday and it's much larger than this one. So I have to kind of like reconfigure the stuff that's on this shelf anyway. I also think because the cats just left, I'm going to put away all of the cat toys that we took out when they were here to play with. Similarly, they are currently living in this closet to my left, but I also think that there is a better storage solution for them in the long term. Plus, I also kind of want to put some of the stuff that was just George's into a separate box as like kind of like a memory box. And then when we eventually get a bigger house and I'm able to like fully display it all up on the mantle, I'll do that. Okay, with that long intro out of the way, let's get right on into cleaning. I think while I'm cleaning, I'm going to turn on an audiobook. I'm in the middle of 2 books right now, but I think I'm probably going to physically read most of those later. I'm in the mood actually to start something new and also to start like a nonfiction. And I think I just checked out one from Libby, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with that. And I'll let you know how my progress goes as I start working on everything. Oh yeah, another thing I want to do is I have a stack of books over here. They're kind of acting like a bookend to keep some of the stuff over here from falling down. A lot of these are part of the like try a chapter that I picked out as a TBR in my ultimate book video, but some of these up here I also have to list on Pango. So that's another task I want to do later today. Okay, so I've done pretty much all of the decluttering that I had on my list to do for this video. I just put a load of laundry on, which takes about like 30 minutes to be done. And I thought during that time period, I am going to go to my local thrift store and donate some stuff. We kind of always have a like running bag of some things that we want to eventually donate to our local thrift store, and I figured now would be a good time to go. Initially, I was thinking I would go later on in the day, but if you can't tell by how crazy the lighting has been in this video, it's getting quite dark out because I think it's supposed to thunderstorm in like 2-ish hours. So I think I want to go now as opposed to risk getting rained on later. And I already have like the 30 minutes to kill anyway, kind of waiting for the laundry to be done. So I figured I would go now. There wasn't anything from the like declutters I just did that I put in this bag. I did grab like one more shirt that last time I wore it, I just didn't feel super comfortable in it, so I think I'm going to donate that. But pretty much everything else here is stuff that we like already had tried on and decided like weeks ago that we were going to donate. So I'm going to go take this over to get donated. I will give you guys a quick audiobook update from what I've been listening to while I've been cleaning. I think since I started like actively cleaning, it's been about 2.5 hours, but I've not been cleaning 100% straight through that time period. I started listening to Extremely Online by Taylor Lorenz, which is a nonfiction book about like influence and power on the internet. I'm currently an hour and 15 minutes into this. I think it's pretty interesting. They've been talking lately about kind of like the rise of MySpace and Facebook and like the first like proto-influencers on the internet, which is very interesting. I'm definitely going to listen to more of this as I continue to clean and do other stuff around the house for the rest of the day. But I will be taking a quick pause while I run my little errand. I think probably also when I get back, I'm going to make myself some lunch. And my laundry will be done, so I can go ahead and hang that up. And we'll get into the rest of the tasks for this video. I am back from my little errand run. Unfortunately, it was like drizzling when I did go outside, so I wasn't able to completely avoid the rain, but luckily I don't think my hair got too messed up from it. Usually when I do my hair, the second I step outside, if it's really humid or like any type of rain is out, it just completely undoes all the work I did to it, but I don't think it was too bad, and my hair stayed mostly intact. Anyway, as you just saw, I got out all of the laundry that was in the washing machine. I also did another task I'd been putting off and cleaned all of my makeup brushes, and more importantly, all of my beauty blenders. Somehow all three of them were dirty at the same time. Usually I try to like use one for a week or so and then switch to another one and then clean them before they all get super dirty. But I ended up going ahead and cleaning all of them. And I did my final task of the video by vacuuming and mopping my whole apartment. I think it looks so good. I'm really glad I got all of those tasks out of the way for this video. I did have to start and stop a couple times just from like getting tired and getting a headache annoyingly like 2 hours into my cleaning session. So this kind of ends up being a whole day affair, but I did get a lot of progress done in my audiobook, which I was listening to while I did a lot of my cleaning. I'm currently 25% of the way through Extremely Online, so I've listened to this for 2 hours and 34 minutes. So far, I'm really enjoying it. The chapter and section we're talking about right now is with like early YouTube stardom, which I find super interesting. As someone that obviously grew up on OG YouTube, but was a little bit too young to really fully understand everything that was going on, and was more so just like enjoying meme culture and like early internet culture overall, it's definitely really fun to go back and look at it with like my adult perspective. And yes, I'm really enjoying the book so far. At 2 hours and 34 minutes, we are over the threshold of how much I wanted to read for today. However, I think I am going to continue and read more just because it's only like the early afternoon right now, and I have a couple more hours until my wife gets back. So I figured I will just continue listening to the audiobook while I do some other tasks around the house. And yeah, I'll probably come back to you tomorrow with my next update. So it's still Saturday. It's like almost 6 p.m. I already like took a shower and I'm in my pajamas and like just relaxing. I think my wife probably will get home in the next like half hour maybe, but I think I'm mostly done reading for the day. In terms of my progress for reading Extremely Online, I am around, I think, like 44% of the way through, and I read 4 hours and 34 minutes. So far, I'm really enjoying it. We've moved on to kind of talking about different specific social media platforms and kind of like when they came onto the scene and how they each kind of like grew their following. So there was a chapter on Twitter, there was a chapter on Tumblr, and I'm currently, I think, about to finish the Instagram chapter. The one that was actually probably most interesting was the chapter on Twitter, because there were a couple quotations that really like solidified in my mind the thing that made Twitter so like powerful and special in terms of like what attracted people to the platform that I feel like I also kind of understood. It was basically the fact that since everyone you knew was on the platform and they were sharing things about their lives with like the daily status updates, it was almost like you could like read their mind or like get a deeper insight into their daily lives. They described it as kind of having like a pointillism effect where you just kept on seeing these different moments throughout a person's day and that kind of like coalesced into a better image of someone else that you knew, which I feel like is really interesting, and definitely I feel like the thing that I am most attracted to in like consuming social media now with like all of the creators that I follow on YouTube, and why I like watching more casual like vlog style content. Even if it is like kind of repetitive and you see the same things day after day, it's just kind of interesting to get that insight into someone's life. And it kind of sucks that it is definitely not the main focus of Twitter anymore. For me personally, I've like completely phased out of using Twitter. And I've also kind of like completely phased out of using Blue Sky as a replacement. I did get a Blue Sky account, but I just like don't go on that style of social media platform anymore. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the book so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'll probably end up reading more of that tomorrow, although at the same time I think I might want to take a little bit of break and move on to reading some of the physical books that I said before. I'm trying to finish some of the lingering books I've had for a couple weeks now, so that's definitely also going to be a main focus for my reading tomorrow. Okay, so it's currently Sunday. I am going to do a quick reading update for what I've done so far and how long I've been reading. So far, I've been reading for about an hour and a half. In that time, I've made progress on like all 3 books that I've been reading. I did end up finishing The Duke's Sister and I by Emma Claire Sunday. This is one of the books that I was mostly done. I think I had maybe around like 60 to 70 pages left, and I got this done earlier today. I previously had started this and talked about it in my historical queer romance reading vlog, which I will try to remember to link up above. But this book, in the end, I think I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I kind of was between that and a 4 in the last video, but I wasn't the biggest fan with how this ended up. Specifically with like the very, very end, I kind of was like, that's it. I think that this book has a lot of heart, and I really like the way that it is written. Like, I feel like you can feel the love for the characters and the story come through. However, I just don't really feel like it made a huge impact for me. I feel like there was quite a few things that were kind of left unsaid, kind of underdeveloped with some of the side characters, and overall it was very like humorless and didn't really have the like fun, campy historical romance vibe that I go to this genre for. There were, again, still parts that I really, really did enjoy about it, but overall I don't necessarily think it's going to be one that's going to be like a long-term fave, or one that I will really think about too much now that I finished it. So this is the first book that I read today. After that, I made a little bit more progress in the other physical book that I have, which is Liar City by Ali Theron. This is Ali Theron's urban fantasy series that also blends in some like thriller and mystery elements, as well as eventually is going to be a very, very slow burn queer romance. I'm really enjoying this book so far. I really like both of the main characters of Reese and Grayson. I feel like they have really, really good banter with one another, even as much as their relationship is very slow burn, and they're still kind of on opposite sides at this point in the book. You can also like see a lot of their chemistry come through in their interactions. So I'm having a lot of fun in reading this. However, I think because I really, really like the characters, and I'm pretty sure that the second book has a very large like cliffhanger ending, and the third book is not out yet, I'm kind of like taking my time because I want to be able to enjoy this series for as long as I can. So I only read like 2 chapters of this earlier today. I do think my audiobook hold for this is going to be due pretty soon, so I'm going to listen to as much as I can probably tomorrow, and then when it gets returned, I'll just focus on reading it physically. And then lastly, I did some updating in my reading journal, and while I was doing that, I decided to listen to more of Extremely Online. I currently am 51% of the way through, and I'm at 5 hours and 17 minutes in the audiobook. And so far it's just been more of the same. I have been really enjoying it. In the like timeline of all of the social media sites they've been talking about, we finally got to like the Vine era, which is pretty interesting because I feel like I vaguely know some of like Vine's rise and fall, having been like a high schooler during the time when Vine was at its peak. But I don't know a ton of the details, and I never like actively used Vine when I was in high school. I just kind of like know a lot of the people that eventually like moved on to become YouTubers who originally got popular on Vine. So yeah, I'm continuing to enjoy that book quite a bit. I think my goal for today was I think to read around 2 hours and 20 minutes. And again, I'm only at 1 hour and 30. I don't know honestly if I'm going to have too much more time later today to get in that last like 15 minutes of reading. I might listen to a little bit more of the audiobook while I do some like editing or like setting up around my house. But I think otherwise I might just use some of the kind of like extra allotted time from listening to a lot more yesterday to kind of make up for any of the time I need to make today. I will say also, I thought we could look at my screen time for today. Apparently my screen time is really, really high today. It's 3 hours and 9 minutes. However, if you look at like the details, 59 of those minutes is Pokemon Go because I did a long walk for like an hour to run some errands. Also, it's a Pokemon Go community day, so I like want to play extra hard to try and get more shiny Pokemon. So yeah, my screen time is probably a little bit higher than it normally would be, but I honestly don't know if it's going to go much higher because I have a lot of plans in real life offline with my wife later today. So that's my little reading and life update for right now. I'll probably come back to you in the next couple days as I make more progress in my reading time. So I will see you guys in my next update. So currently is Wednesday. I just got done with work and I actually have a hot date tonight with my wife. We're going to try out a new restaurant and then go see the movie Eddington, which came out last weekend. I'm pretty nervous to go see it because I think it's supposed to be pretty intense, which I definitely got from watching the trailers, but me and my wife have become pretty big fans of Ari Aster after watching Hereditary for the first time this year, and we're also quite big fans of westerns, especially like the neo-western, anti-western genre, also from our love of watching Breaking Bad. So that's our plans for this evening. I want to give you a really quick reading update. My goal for Wednesday was only to read an hour and 23 minutes, and I'm currently at an hour and 15. I don't think I'm going to have any more time to read later today, just because obviously, as I just said, I have a lot of plans. And then probably after the movie, I'm going to want to talk to my wife about the movie and not like go on my phone or listen to my audiobook. I have been making pretty good progress in reading Extremely Online. That's basically been the main audiobook I've been focusing on, and the entirety of that like hour and 15 minutes was me listening to the audiobook today. We finally got to like the TikTok era in the like timeline of everything, which is pretty interesting. I also did not know that TikTok, when it was Musical.ly, was originally owned as a US company. Obviously, all of the like drama related to the TikTok ban and stuff has been from the fact that it was owned by ByteDance, but that actually was not the original creators of TikTok. So I thought that aspect was pretty interesting. Another thing we've been focusing on lately has been like the rise of Instagram influencers and like undisclosed ads. And also how like brand collaborations and ads have now become almost like a status symbol, that now like some like less famous Instagram influencers will like actually fake having brand collabs for the sake of seeming like they're more important. So all of that I thought was really interesting. Anyway, that's my quick update for right now. I'll let you know how the movie goes. I'll probably come back to talk to you guys on Friday or Saturday with my like final wrap up of everything. Okay, so it's now Saturday, so it's been a week since I started this project, and now that we're at the end, I thought I would give a general overview of how I thought I did. I'll start out by recapping the last 2 days of reading. On Thursday, my goal was to read an hour and 50 minutes, and I only ended up reading like 35 minutes. I just kind of had other things that were filling up my mental space at that time. After work, we ended up going to look at a house, which we did not end up putting an offer in, but that's fine. So I just kind of feel like I spent that day getting my thoughts in order and having myself like mentally prepared for visiting it. On Friday, my goal was to read for 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I only read for an hour and 25 minutes. However, during that time period, I did end up finishing 2 of the books that I still was in the middle of. Between my reading on Thursday and Friday, I ended up finishing Extremely Online by Taylor Lorenz. I'm going to give this book 3.5 stars. I did think that some parts were interesting, and I feel like I had and definitely did some like thinking and analysis on my own after I would like finish each of the chapters. However, I don't necessarily know if that was really the book itself prompting me to do that additional critical thinking. I feel like the book itself in some ways is a little surface level and does kind of read in some ways like you're just like reading the Wikipedia article for the history of being an online creator and an influencer. I guess I would have maybe liked for there to be more deeper analysis into all of the trends in the book itself, which I feel like would only get tangentially mentioned at like the end of each of the chapters. And some of the like kind of conclusions that I drew were not necessarily things that were prompted in the text itself. So I thought it was a good book, definitely like a good jumping off point, and also like a good history lesson overall for this time period on the internet, but it wasn't like outstanding or necessarily like life-changing. And the other book I ended up finishing on Friday was Liar City by Ali Theron. I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I definitely read this over a longer period of time than I usually do, specifically also when reading a fiction book and also a thriller book, but I feel like it was really, really good. I really liked both of the main characters and their dynamic with each other, and just like overall, the like world building I thought was done really, really well. I did go ahead and tab actually quite a bit of this book. And yeah, I had just had a really good time reading this. Super excited to check out the other books in this series. The third book I'm pretty sure comes out sometime in 2026. And I also think that the second book leaves off on quite a big, like, dramatic cliffhanger, so I might wait to read the second one in the series until I'm, like, maybe a month or two out from the third one coming out, just so I won't have to wait as long with any, like, emotional damage that happens in the second one. So let's talk about overall my thoughts and feelings for this experiment. First of all, even though I didn't really hit my goal for a lot of the days, I don't necessarily feel like this experiment was a failure, because I did actually, like, really push myself to read more and get through all the books that I was in the middle of. And at the end of the week, I, like, finished all 3 of the books that I wanted to. I also do think that I picked a, like, slightly more busy week to film, because in the evenings I was out grocery shopping, working out. I had the date night with my wife, as well as going to do a house tour. So pretty much every day, except for Friday, I was busy after work, which usually is a time period when I would be spending on working on the books I'm reading. And I think also because I had those other activities, my screen time overall was lower last week than it is on average. So I feel like I did kind of, like, overall achieve my goal of avoiding mindlessly scrolling on social media and instead reading and then working on other projects. So with that all said and done, we are now at the end of this video. Please let me know if you enjoyed this kind of format of reading vlog. If you enjoyed this video, also consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you aren't already. Consider also following my Storygraph to see my reading updates in real time, as well as my Bookstagram, which is linked in the description. And that is going to be it for me today. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!